The Denver Broncos have been making moves in this year's NFL draft, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Those weapons that John Elway added, along with the players already in place on this roster, may complete the puzzle for why Denver will take the NFL by storm next season. Last year, the Broncos finished the season with a 7-9 record, finishing in second place in the AFC West. But that record can be deceiving, as Denver was faced with a multitude of setbacks in 2019 that won't stand in their way in 2020. The first of which being the ownership. Longtime owner Pat Bowlen passed away directly before the season, and the Broncos were faced with new ownership for the first time since 1984, as well as having the dark cloud of a beloved figure in the organization hanging over the team. Denver also underwent a complete overhaul in the coaching staff, hiring Vic Fangio to be their new head coach, Ed Donatelli to be their defensive coordinator, and Rich Scangarello as their offensive coordinator, who is now no longer with the team, as well as adding a new offensive line coach, linebackers coach, tight ends coach, defensive backs coach, and quarterbacks coach prior to the season. So there was a lot of change, especially off the field for Denver prior to the year. On the field, there were changes as well, particularly at the quarterback position, as the organization decided to move on from Case Keenum and added 3 new arms to the locker room in the form of veteran Joe Flacco, still young and developing Brandon Allen, and second-round rookie Drew Lock. All 3 of which would compete for the starting job, but the coaching staff decided to go with the veteran Joe Flacco to start the season. But he would suffer a season-ending injury in Week 8 and would be replaced by Brandon Allen for the coming weeks. Pass catches for Flacco weren't ideal either, as Tim Patrick was out for the majority of the season after suffering a broken hand in Week 1, and Denver's number 1 receiver Emmanuel Sanders was trading during the middle of the year to the 49ers. The injuries would continue, this time on the defensive side of the ball, as one of the best up-and-coming pass rushers in the NFL, Bradley Chubb, suffered a torn ACL in Week 4 and would miss the remainder of the year. Setbacks for Denver would translate to the field, as they started the season 0-4 through 4 games and 3-8 through 11 games. But then Denver would start to put it together, and it has a lot to do with their new quarterback Drew Lock, who got his first start in Week 13 and would lead Denver to a 4-1 record to close out the year and revolutionize the Mile High offense. Drew Lock is the building block for next season, and is the centerpiece in Denver's success. It's obvious that the Denver front office is trying to put the right complementary pieces around him, starting off with the offensive line. The offensive line is young but serviceable, especially on the left side with Garrett Bowles and Dalton Reisner, and at right tackle with Jawan James, all of which had great years last season, which I expect them to keep up to keep Drew Lock upright. But Lock has to have some pass catchers to throw the ball to, and that was addressed in abundance during this year's NFL draft, drafting Jerry Jeudy in the first round and KJ Hamler in the second. Jeudy has the capacity to be a number 1 receiver in the NFL, and Hamler has the potential to be a dangerous deep threat in this league. Couple the 2 rookies with Courtland Sutton, who amassed over 1,000 yards last year and was named to a Pro Bowl, as well as serviceable receivers Tim Patrick and Deshaun Hamilton, and sophomore tight end Noah Fant, this could be a dangerous receiving group in the NFL. The skill position abundance doesn't stop there, as Denver has a 3-headed monster in the backfield, with Phillip Lindsay, who's rushed over 1,000 yards in both of his years in the league, new addition Melvin Gordon, and Royce Freeman to bring a running game to the Mile High City. Defense is just as, if not more, dangerous than the offense. Bradley Chubb is back and healthy off his ACL injury and is prepared to tear up opposing defenses right where he left off, alongside his partner in crime, Von Miller, who has been one of the best defensive players in the league for years. But those aren't the only pass rushers in Denver, as they added veteran and dominant force Jarrell Casey to man the middle of the defensive line. And finally, the secondary. Denver had the no-fly zone in 2017 with Chris Harris Jr., Aqib Talib, and Bradley Roby. But even after all those guys left, they have rebuilt the secondary arguably better than it was before. AJ Boye was added during the offseason to be the number 1 corner, Bryce Callahan, who is the league's best slot corner, and safety tandem Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons, the latter of which was named second-team All-Pro, are the stars of the Denver secondary. Biggest problem facing Denver is going to be the ability for Drew Lock to continue his momentum into 2020. Lock is still young and on his rookie deal, and he's only played for 5 games in his NFL career. But those 5 games were damn good. Lock has the pieces around him in order to succeed, but he has to step up to the plate. The tools are there for Denver to be successful next season, and if the pieces fit in the Broncos' scheme, they can be singing Jeezy all the way to the playoffs and potentially farther.